Good evening everyone. Welcome to Bajirao IAS Academy daily newspaper analysis. Today is 29 December 2025 and today we have some most important topics for our analysis. The first topic is about India-Iran strategic partnership. We'll be looking into the comprehensive relations between India and Iran, and we'll also be understanding rare earth elements and why these rare earth elements are important. So let's understand these topics in detail. The first very important topic is India-Iran strategic partnership. Let's first understand the context of relations between India and Iran. Now, in fact, Iran is our extended neighbor. Iran is a very important country for India's energy security. And India also wanted to connect itself through Iran, particularly through Chabahar port. So, in changing geopolitics, and the world has also become multipolar world, in this context, let's understand India-Iran relations in detail in a comprehensive manner. So, as I have already told you that Iran is an extended neighbor of India. So, therefore, India-Iran relations, they extend beyond the conventional diplomacy, drawing strength from millennia of civilizational continuity. So one thing that we should understand here, that India-Iran relationship is not just based on the conventional diplomacy of these two countries, but both India and Iran have civilizational linkages. Going ahead, we'll be understanding what exactly is the civilizational linkages between India and Iran. And long before the conventional diplomacy, political borders, both India and Iran, they actually emerged from a shared Indo-Iranian civilization. So there was an Indo-Iranian civilization that was a shared civilization, and this civilization rooted in linguistic, cultural and spiritual traditions. The historical affinity has further endured political change and now intersects with contemporary strategic, economic and security interests. So I hope you know about the Indus Valley civilization. So Indus Valley civilization and Vedic civilization was also linked with Iran during the prehistoric times. So in a similar way, what I would like to say is that the present modern political borders and before these political borders, before the conventional diplomacy, so both these countries had rich civilizations. These civilizations were rooted in common linguistic, cultural and spiritual traditions. So these actually linked both India and Iran. And one thing that we should understand here, that the world has been turning multipolar world. Multipolar world is a world where there are multiple centers of world, multiple centers of power. During Cold War, there are two centers of power. One was USSR and the other was US. So when there are two superpowers, two centers of powers, the world was called as bipolar world. After the fall of USSR, the world became unipolar world. But now the world is a multipolar world. Multipolar world means there are multiple centers of power. There is US, Russia, Japan, European Union countries, India, China. So there are multiple centers of world. So therefore we are living in a multipolar world. Now if you look at the global order is marked by a multipolarity. And in this multipolarity, both India and Iran, they have positioned themselves in a manner to transform their ancient bond into a forward-looking partnership, which is beneficial for both these countries. So let's understand the location of Iran. So Iran is located in West Asia or Middle East. Now, for India's connectivity to Central Asia, Iran plays a very important role because India wanted to access Afghanistan and Central Asia through Iran. So for that reason, India has been constructing a port called Chabahar Port. So this port will be operated by India. Earlier, a UPSC prelims question has been asked on this. So in fact, this Chabahar port will help India not depend on Pakistan to access Afghanistan and Central Asia. So it will help India overcome this Pakistan hurdle. Right? So in this context, some important content on Chabahar port has also been given. So in fact, Indian presence in Chabahar. So this is the location of Chabahar port in Iran, and it is expected to offset Chinese presence in Pakistani port of Gwadar. How? India has developed and operating the Chabahar port in a similar way. There is another port called Gwadar port. So this Gwadar port is located in Pakistan, and it is developed by and operated by China. And therefore, India's presence in Chabahar is expected to offset Chinese presence in the port of Gwadar. So let's understand about this Chabahar port before going into the India-Iran relationship in detail. So the Chabahar port will help cut the costs. The port will be used to ship crude oil, urea, so that will greatly reduce India's overall transportation costs. Secondly, India's Afghanistan connect. So a railway line from Iran to Afghanistan, it will be built by Ircon International, will connect Chabahar port to Jahidin on Afghan border. There will be a bigger link as well. The bigger link is the port will link to international north-south transport corridor that will further connect India with Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan and other Central Asian countries. So going ahead, we'll understand the international north-south transport corridor as well. So it is expected that international north-south transport corridor will link Russia with India through several Central Asian and West Asian countries. Right. So first understand historical and civilizational foundations of India and Iran relations. So if we talk about that, as I have already told you, that during prehistoric times, both India and Iran used to have the strong ties. So therefore, the connections between India and Iran, they originated in the Indo-Iranian world. So this Indo-Iranian world legacy has been evident in the parallels between Avesta and Rigveda. So Avesta is a very popular text like Rigveda in India, and Avesta is popular in Iran. So therefore, both Avesta and Rigveda, Iran and in India, so they actually reflect shared mythologies, ethical values, cosmological views that shaped early social organization between India and Iran, or together we can call as Indo-Iranian world. So therefore, one of the most enduring manifestations of this relationship was prominence of Persian language in India. So in the early phases of history, Persian was very popular language in India. So therefore, the most enduring manifestations of India-Iran relationship is the prominence of the Persian language. Because Persian language in India served as a medium of administration for centuries. It is a diplomacy, and it is also a medium for intellectual life across the subcontinent. So we have seen the Islamic rule in India. So during Islamic rule, several dynasties have ruled India, particularly during the medieval age. So in medieval age, Persian become a very popular language. So Persian become very popular language. It was become a language for medium of administration, medium of diplomacy, and even a medium for intellectual life across the subcontinent. So therefore, this interaction between India and Iran, this interaction with the language, so has led to the development of an Indian style in Persian poetry. So there is a Persian poetry, but this Persian poetry has been become an Indian style Persian poetry, and this is what is called as Sabak-i-Hindi. So this is Indian style Persian poetry, and this blends with Persian literary form with Indian philosophical depth. For example, the work of Mirza Abdul Qadir Bedel Dehlavi. So he actually epitomized the synthesis between Indian style in Persian poetry and Persian literary form with Indian philosophical depth has been epitomized by Mirza Abdul Qadir Bedel Dehlavi. So therefore, it has left a lasting imprint on the Persian literary tradition and even Indo-Iranian cultural exchange as well. So if we talk about historical and civilizational foundations between India and Iran, so we need to talk about the Indo-Iranian world, where there are two texts which actually linked Indian civilization with Iranian civilization. So therefore, we can say that India and Iran have civilizational links. The relationship between India and Iran has not been established in recent times after India's independence, or not described by a formal diplomacy or new political borders. Rather, they have a civilizational linkages, which is evident from the fact that the linkage between Avesta and Rigveda, and apart from that, the influence of Persian literacy on Indian philosophy. So that we have to understand in the historical and civilizational foundations. So let's understand how India-Iran relationship have transformed into a modern strategic realities. So if we talk about this, how India and Iran relations have started strengthening in the modern age. So therefore, one thing that we should understand, that this historical and civilizational relations between India and Iran, so they provided us depth and legitimacy for our relationship to further strengthen. Right? We were very good friends once. Our civilizations are linked with one another. A language has played a very important role in further building up this legitimacy and depth. So therefore, based on this depth and legitimacy of India-Iran relationship, the contemporary relations are shaped by the pragmatic considerations that we should understand here. So what exactly are these pragmatic considerations? The pragmatic considerations are a realistic considerations, practical considerations. They are known as pragmatic considerations. For example, so pragmatic considerations in the sense that both countries understood. For example, for Iran, why India is important. For India, why Iran is important. How they can benefit from each other. How they can strengthen their relationship in the current multipolar world order. So this is a pragmatic relation, practical and a realistic relationship is called as a pragmatic relationship. Now, in Asia, the global power structures, or around the world also, the global power structures have been evolving and developing. And in this context, the Indo-Pacific region has been gaining a lot of prominence. So we can say that when Indo-Pacific region has been getting a lot of prominence in the world, so therefore India and Iran are two important countries in the Indo-Pacific region, right? So global power structures evolve and Asia gains a prominence. Why Asia gains prominence? Because Asia is home to more powerful countries, developing countries which are fast developing. For example, China, India, Japan, Southeast Asian countries, or they're called as Asian countries, Iran, Saudi Arabia. So because of a lot of countries which are powerful, which are developing, which are fast developing. So because of that reason, Asia gains a lot of prominence in the global power structure. So in this context, both India and Iran actually share a strategic objective. Right? What exactly is the strategic objective? A strategic objective is a long-term development objective. A long-term development objective. This strategic objective will include all other types of objectives. For example, so if they wanted a prominent place in the global order, or if they wanted to strengthen their defense relationship, their security relationship, trade relationship, energy security, investment. For example, when India has been engaging with Iran, India will keep in mind all these different factors in a long term. India also understand that India's relationship with Iran will be a long-term relationship. So that is what is a strategic objective. Because India understood the importance of Iran, or Iran understood the importance of India. Iran is our extended neighbor. When India is engaging with Iran, India will keep in mind all these factors, and India will further strengthen its long-term relationship with Iran, and this is the strategic objective. So therefore, both Iran and India, they increasingly share these strategic objectives, including regional stability and foreign policy autonomy. Now, what exactly is regional autonomy? We know that in Afghanistan, Taliban took over the administration. In Pakistan also, terrorism is a most critical issue. And Central Asia is also facing a lot of issues, particularly radicalization, Islamic fundamentalism, lack of political stability. So all these problems that the Central Asia has been facing. West Asia, if you look at West Asia, in West Asia also it is a volatile region because of this recent Hamas and Israel conflict. So that has led to instability in the Middle East. So therefore, keeping in mind all these challenges, regional stability is very, very important. Regional peace is very important for both India and Iran, and they have well understood this. And they are also aiming for the foreign policy autonomy. So this foreign policy autonomy is also known as strategic autonomy in India's language. So foreign policy autonomy means that, for example, India's foreign policy choices should be decided by Indian administration only, or India should be able to decide with whom it wanted to strengthen its relations, right? So no other country should dictate India what its foreign policy should be. So that is foreign policy autonomy. So one example I would say that in recent times, India has been importing Russia's crude oil. If US comes and US says India that don't import crude oil from Russia. So now here US has been dictating India the foreign policy. So how India's foreign policy? So because US has been saying that don't import crude oil from Russia. However, foreign policy autonomy means that India will strongly say to US that please don't dictate to us. So we have an independent and autonomous foreign policy, and we know from whom we should import crude oil. So India also says that importing crude oil from Russia is important for our energy security. So therefore, don't dictate us about these terms of importing crude oil. So US or any other country should not dictate India's foreign policy choices. So that is what is called as foreign policy autonomy. However, India's central pillar of India's engagement with Iran is energy security, because Iran is a country in West Asia. So Iran is also known for its huge crude oil reserves, natural gas, and because of that reason, central to India-Iran relationship is a strong energy security cooperation. However, as of now, India is growing 8% per annum every year. So therefore, India is a rapidly growing economy, right? And this rapidly growing economy requires access to hydrocarbons, What exactly these hydrocarbons? Hydrocarbons are crude oil, natural gas. So all these things are hydrocarbons. So therefore, when your economy is growing at a faster pace, the economy must require the hydrocarbons. Now, as told you that Iran has a vast oil and gas reserves and position it as a natural partner when you require hydrocarbons, and when Iran has huge oil and gas reserves, when energy security is very important for India, then obviously Iran become a natural partner for India's energy security or for any other reason as well. So therefore, this complementarity between India and Iran, so that reflects the mutual beneficial relationship grounded in economic necessity rather than the sentiment alone, right? So therefore, sentiment means, for example, we have been enjoying the civilizational linkages. So our relationship with Iran is not just based on the sentiment, rather it is based on the pragmatic considerations. It is based on the realities. So let's understand the key aspects of India-Iran relations, particularly connectivity, trade, and even geo-economic cooperation. Right now, connectivity is a very important area of strong or further strengthening bilateral relations between India and Iran. So the first one is Chabahar port, right? So in fact, connectivity will strengthen bilateral relationship between India and Iran. There is no doubt about that. So what are the key components of this connectivity project is Chabahar port. So in the beginning of the analysis, I have explained you what exactly is this Chabahar port. Chabahar port is located in Iran, and this Chabahar port will play a very important role in India's access to Afghanistan and Central Asia. So this Chabahar port is developed and operated by India. So therefore, this Chabahar port is an alternative route for India to access Afghanistan and Central Asia and circumvent or overcome Pakistan hurdle to access Afghanistan and Central Asia, because Pakistan blocked India's access to Afghanistan. So therefore, the Chabahar port is an alternative for India, so that we could actually reduce our dependence on traditional maritime corridors, right? So apart from that, if you look at Iran's geographical position, so Iran's geographical position, it will further enhance India's access to Central Asia, Eurasian region, and even Afghanistan as well. So we all knew that the Central Asian region is well known for mineral resources. Central Asian is known for its rich markets. So therefore, India need to access Afghanistan and Central Asia. India has been aiding Afghanistan. India has been providing humanitarian assistance, providing food grain. So therefore, India has been continuously developed a long-term relationship with Afghanistan people. India should continue that relationship. So therefore, Iran and Chabahar port is very important. So beyond Afghanistan, Central Asia is also a very important region for India, and India should access the Central Asian region and even larger Eurasian region as well. So therefore, one aspect is Chabahar port. It is an alternative to access Afghanistan and Central Asia. And the second one is International North-South Transport Corridor. Right? So therefore, this international, this is, in this blue line, you can see this is the International North-South Transport Corridor. And in the red line, this is how the international, actually the blue line, it is a standard route. However, in red line, it is International North-South Transport Corridor. Now, in fact, you can see that the standard blue line, this is the standard route for Russia to access India. So it will take a lot of time to reach a vessel which started in Russia to reach India. Alternatively, if we built this International North-South Transport Corridor from Russia to India through Iran, it will be easier. It will reduce the cost of transportation, it will reduce the time, and it will also help India further strengthen its relations with Central Asian countries and even Russia. And it will also help India explore the markets in Central Asia and Eurasian region. So therefore, Iran's geographical position further strengthens its role in international north-south transport corridor. Because this international north-south transport corridor, it links South Asia to Russia and North Europe through a shorter and more cost-effective route than the Suez Canal. However, both Chabahar port and international north-south transport corridor, they elevate Iran's role as a Eurasian transit hub while further expanding India's access to the continental markets. So that's what I've been explaining here. And then security cooperation and external challenges between these two countries. So beyond economics, Iran and India face a common security challenges. So what common security challenges both these countries have been facing? For example, Islamic fundamentalism, radicalization, terrorism, or spread of extremism throughout South Asia and West Asia. So these are the major challenges for both Iran and India. Now, in fact, a sustained security and counter-terrorism cooperation between India and Iran is very, very important in the backdrop of rising or spreading extremism or terrorism across West Asia and South Asia, including India as well. So, in fact, counter-terrorism is a very important component of bilateral relations between both India and Iran. So, however, there are some external pressures. What external pressures are? For example, US has imposed sanctions on Iran. So, when US has imposed sanctions on Iran, why? Because Iran is making nuclear weapons, and US don't want Iran to develop nuclear weapons. So, because of US sanctions on Iran, India cannot import crude oil and natural gas, and India even stopped importing crude oil and natural gas from Iran, right? So if India importing crude oil, natural gas from Iran, these sanctions will also affect India and Indian economy badly. So therefore, there is an external pressure, and geopolitical rivalries have at times constrained the engagement between India and Iran. But nevertheless, both India and Iran have navigated through these complexities, expressing strategic pragmatism, balancing the global partnerships while safeguarding the national interests. However, for both countries, both Iran and India, developing an alternative financial mechanism. So an alternative financial mechanism will help India import crude oil and natural gas freely. And then reducing vulnerability to external constraints remain an important objectives to further strengthen the bilateral relationship. Right? So what it means, reducing vulnerability to external constraints? For example, when US imposed sanctions on Iran for manufacturing nuclear weapons, India stopped importing crude oil and natural gas from Iran. So therefore, if they have this alternative financial mechanism, so then this alternative financial mechanism will help reduce the external constraint. It will help further strengthen the relationship between India and Iran. So in fact, a comprehensive content on strategic autonomy in a multipolar world has been given here, and if you want, you can go through this content as well. So here a strategic autonomy concept has been given. So strategic autonomy very simply means independent decision making, flexibility, and resisting the external pressures. So that is what is called as strategic autonomy, right? Now let's understand another very important topic, which is what are rare earth metals. A very important editorial has been given in the Hindu newspaper. Let's understand what exactly rare earth elements, and these rare earth elements are also in news. So rare earth elements are actually a group of 17 metallic elements. These 17 metallic elements are comprising 15 lanthanides, including lanthanum to lutetium, along with scandium and yttrium. So therefore, we have to understand that rare earth elements are a group of 17 metallic elements, and they comprising 15 lanthanides along with scandium and yttrium. So they form 17 metallic elements. Though they're not always geologically scarce in nature, I mean they are available abundant in nature, but they are termed as rare because they occur in very low concentrations. It is true that rare earth elements are available all across the planet, but however, they are being called as rare earth elements because they are available in very low concentrations, and it is very difficult to extract them, and that's why they are being called as rare earth elements. So the factor is that one is they are available in very low concentration. The second factor is they are intermixed with each other, and they are very difficult and expensive to separate. Now when they are intermixed with each other, it will be very difficult and very expensive to separate from other elements. So because of these reasons, these earth elements are being called as rare earth elements. I hope you have understood the reasons why they are being called as rare earth elements. However, in recent times, the rare earth elements have gained as immense strategic importance. So every country started looking for rare earth elements. Now why every country started looking for rare earth elements? Because their critical role and their importance in green technologies. What are these green technologies? For example, electric vehicle manufacturing. Electric vehicle manufacturing is a green technology, and renewable energy generation, for example, solar panels manufacturing. So rare earth elements actually play a very important role in these green technologies, electronics, defense, and even advanced manufacturing as well. Right? So in all these areas, rare earth elements have immense importance. So let's understand the classification and characteristics of these rare earth elements. Now in fact, you can see here on this yellow, so they are lanthanides, and they are usually shown as a separate row in a periodic table. Right? So this row in a periodic table is called as lanthanides. So along with 15 elements, scandium and yttrium, so they lie in the group 3 near a transition metals. Right? So you can see here, these are transition metals, and scandium and yttrium are shown in group 3. Historically, the term earth referred to oxide powers, as many rare earth elements were first identified in oxide form. Right? So the term earth refers to oxide powders. They are referred to as oxide powers because many rare earth elements were first identified in oxide form, and that's why they are being called as oxide powders. However, sometimes rare earth elements are confused with critical minerals. Right? So critical minerals are different and rare earth elements are different. Both are not same. For example, if we talk about rare earth minerals, these rare earth elements include lithium and cobalt. Right? So both rare earth elements and critical minerals both are chemically different and distinct. So that factor we should understand here. Now what is the technological importance of rare earth elements? Right? So why every country is looking for rare earth elements and why they are very important? Because these rare earth elements possess a unique magnetic, optical, and electrical properties. So that is mainly because of the 4f electrons that these rare earth elements have. For example, the rare earth elements will play a very important role in manufacturing of permanent magnets. For example, neodymium iron boron. So these neodymium iron boron magnets are strongest commercially available magnets in the world. So therefore, these rare earth elements will help manufacture these magnets. And in fact, the rare earth elements are used in manufacturing electric vehicles because of climate change, global warming, pollution concerns. So every country is started looking to develop electric vehicles, adopt electric vehicles on a large scale. And these rare earth elements also used in wind turbines which generate electricity from wind, and robotics and generators also. This plays a very important role. However, the rare earth elements strength and stability come from high magnetization and even a magnetocrystalline and anisotropy. So therefore it enables efficiency at high temperatures and high speeds. And then lightning optics, because europium and terbium, so they are also rare earth elements and they are used as phosphors in LEDs and display screens. Neodymium and erbium, so they are used in lasers and fiber optic communications. So therefore, the rare earth elements have a very important technological importance for the entire world. So let's understand briefly the difference between rare earths versus oil, crude oil, right? So what exactly is the difference between rare earth elements and crude oil? So unlike crude oil, which is refined mainly through a fractional distillation, these rare earth elements require complex chemical separation. It is not easy to process the rare earth elements because I have told you that they are actually mixed with other elements. In order to separate them, in order to extract them, it is very expensive and a very difficult process to do so. Now, the rare earth elements have similar ionic charges and sizes, making separation very difficult. There will be solvent extraction that involves hundreds of stages, is used to achieve high purity, and high purity achievement is a very difficult process and that is required in the rare earth elements. And manufacturers require specific elements at a specific purity, therefore limiting a substitution, unlike oil refining. For example, if you look at the extraction of rare earth elements, processing of rare earth elements, China dominates the rare earth market, right? So if you look at the global rare earth reserves in the year 2021, China tops the list with 44%, right? So therefore, China has been extracting and processing rare earth elements on a huge scale. So therefore, China is actually having dominance over the rare earth elements. So let's understand the value chain and environmental challenges which are involved in this rare earth elements extraction, purification. This is how the multiple levels of distillation, purification is actually required, and that's why it is very expensive to extract or make rare earth elements available. So therefore, if you look at rare earth elements value chain, this involves mining and beneficiation, chemical cracking and leaching, separation via solvent extraction, and even precipitation into oxides, followed by metal reduction if required. However, there are several environmental concerns. Those environmental concerns include presence of thorium and uranium in iron ores. They may contaminate the natural resources, including the water as well, and use of strong acids, bases, large water volumes. You have to use a large amount of water for the extraction of these rare earth metals, right? So that may create water stress, water scarcity as well. And even generation of hazardous radioactive waste is also another major challenge which is involved here, right? So therefore, these are the concerns with respect to extraction of the rare earth elements. However, if you look at the global distribution and dominance of rare earth metals, as I've already told you, that China dominates the total reserves of rare earth metals with 49%. India is having 8% of global rare earth reserves. So according to US Geological Survey, global reserves exceed 90 million tons of rare earth elements oxide equivalent. So among this, China contributing 44 million tons, Brazil with 21 million tons, India with 6.9 million tons, and Australia with 5.7 million tons. So even China also controls 91% of global rare earth element separation and 94% of permanent magnet production, according to International Energy Agency. So therefore, China clearly dominates the separation, extraction of rare earth elements and even permanent magnet production as well. So this dominance of China makes rare earth elements a geopolitical and economic strategic resource. So that means China can stop exporting these rare earth elements to those countries, which, for example, when India and China have these border clashes at Galwan, so China may threaten India that it may stop exporting rare earth elements to India. So therefore, the self-sufficiency is very, very important for countries like India. So diversification or even extracting the domestic reserves, because we also have 6.9 million tons of rare earth elements. So we should also start extracting those rare earth elements and even processing them. So that will make us self-sufficient along with importing these rare earth elements from other countries. So countries like Japan, through deep sea mining near Minamitori Island, India are now focusing on midstream refining and magnet manufacturing and not just mining as well. Right? So this is the global distribution and China's dominance in the rare earth elements. So that's all for today, and thank you so much.